Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham. This is BK, Able Shepherd 051, doing another round on the right side of the cameras. Welcome, brother.
Good to be back with 001.
We were talking about doing Graham family sayings, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But I do want to touch on what we were just talking about. So amazing message on Sunday. It rocked me. Like, I'm still working with it. It bled into the Bible study on Monday, and I think it ties into what we were talking about. So I just want to take a crack at that real quick. The message was Jack Hibbs, Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills out of California, talking about Esther chapter 4, and it was called For Such a Time as This. Man, there were so many tie-ins that I hadn't kind of seen before, and one of them was talking about when God's talking to you, that was saying, if you're not familiar with the story, in a nutshell, Esther, beautiful woman, was placed was positioned as the queen. The king was kind of you can't approach the king or you'll be killed kind of thing without permission. If he calls you, then whatever. Was tricked by a guy named Haman. Sorry, let me back up. The uncle Mordecai was the guy that would not bow, and just ticked off one of the government officials, let's just call him, called Haman. He was so obsessed with this guy because he wouldn't bow, like, oh, you bow to the royalty, you bow to the king kind of thing. And he's like, not doing it. My God says that I'm not going to do it. So he was a guy that doesn't bow. Esther, also a Jew. So Haman says, I'm going to kill all the Jews. So he tricks the king into saying he's going to kill all the Jews. Esther's a Jew, but nobody knows she's a Jew, but now she's the queen. He tells her that that God has made you for a time such as this. You've been put in this position to act. And if you don't, and this is the powerful part, you're made for a time such as this. If you don't step up, people are going to find out you're a Jew, and it's going to be off with your head as well. But if you don't take a stand and step in right now, God is going to do this anyways. He's going to take care of us anyways. He's going to pick somebody else. Yeah. And you and your family are going to fall. Now, let me just take a big jump real quick into the SEAL team days when we didn't know what we're talking about because we're all a bunch of young men.
In very good shape.
In very good shape, going out to conquer the world and defend our nation with a head full of steam. We would get drawn into these Viking-type sayings, like all this Valhalla. And there was, I can remember, my buddy Lance going into this whole recital of this thing, talking about this Viking prayer. And everybody's like, yeah, it's kind of stuff on the way onto a mission or the way to a training thing or the way to a whatever. It just fires people up, and one of them was something similar to Valhalla was what they would call heaven is, be quick to find your death before somebody takes your place. I mean, get quick, find your space in Valhalla before somebody beats you to it is kind of what's saying. The same thing. So it's basically saying you're called, God's talking to you, to step in and stand for your people. Maybe lose your life and get in there, but you're going to have a chance at glory. And if you don't do it, somebody may beat you to it.
Yeah,
he's going to use somebody else and you're going to miss it. You know what I mean? So this goes into what we were talking about. I literally wrote down that day, God forged you for 47 years for such a time as this, meaning what's going on in our nation. And that's kind of heavy talk right now, but then I come in and start talking to you. You're like, man, something he's talking to me. And I didn't know any part of this conversation that you've been having with God, but I said this on a podcast earlier today. There is this thing where I'm talking about. I said this last week, and then I was convicted immediately by this message, talking about, man, is it Jimmy or is it God? Like, I kind of want. It's almost like the new Raptor pickup truck. I think God wants me to have that. No, that's all Jimmy. I can assure you that's Jimmy. Whatever. It's like, because we can't afford it, so that means it's Jimmy, right? It just means that I'm like, do I want it so bad I'm going to say it's of God? I'm going to convince myself God's talking to me, or is it truly God? That kind of thing. Well, that's where faith comes in. So I made the comment, when people say, and I've said this before, man, I haven't heard from God in a while. I don't think he's talking to me. Like somehow he's busy and doesn't have time for Jimmy Graham, and this has been a long time because I just, whatever. But to put it in radio talk, military radio talk, there's a transmitter and a receiver. God transmit 24/7. He transmits 24/7 to everybody.
Everybody.
If you're not hearing from God, it's not the transmitter. It's the receiver. You know what I mean? And some people are like, cross and mad and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we are going 100 miles an hour. And every time that I just told Neil Pinkham this to say, just talking to him earlier, every time I have to be quiet on a plane, in a car, whatever, like if I went to that men's, a couple years ago, I guess it was, called Wild Sons.
Wild Sons.
With Pablo and those guys. And when they made me sit down and be quiet and start writing, my pen didn't stop. Yep. It just kept going. And amazing things came out. Weird stuff came out. I'm like, we're not even talking about this. Where'd this come from? It doesn't make any sense. Like this one. The Bible said that somebody else is talking. I'm just sitting there being quiet. And I write this. That has nothing to do with anything. One day your strength will leave you, and you will rely on and submit to the strength of younger men. On that day, you will regret not forging righteousness into their steel.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I know what it means,
wow.
But and what I took from it was you teach people to shoot guns and do all this other stuff, but if you don't sow in that righteousness, you may be training bad guys. You may be training people that don't have any business doing this. So we've always done that. We've always put integrity in front of, obviously the skillful hands.
The part that blew my mind is, and I flew back from Phoenix today, and I don't know, as I was telling you, it seems like 2 to 4 weeks, lay down in bed, go to say my prayers, and the one thing the mantra I keep saying is, I know you're talking, help me hear what you're saying. I know you're showing me things, help me see them. So here I am in my own world, trying to come to grips with that. I've got a little bit more spare time with Alex off in the Marines. I've got some quiet time. I don't want to say meditate, but my brain can stop thinking about work, and I want to hear that. I want to see that. I want to feel that. And then I walk in here and you read it off your sheet of paper. I'm like, really? This just happened? So
that's him. So
yeah.
that truly, I had the same conversation today, right? I have the same conversation today, meaning this. I go into this whole thing yesterday, the day before, blah, 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 going on about man, God, is it me? Is it Jimmy? Is it whatever? And it's a faith question. It truly is. And then Jack Hibbs gets up there and he says, God's never said, he's never sat me down. Hey, Jack, sit down and let me explain this to you.
Oh, no.
This is what I'm doing. Here's my whole plan. I want you to do this. And meanwhile, I'll have BK doing this. And one day you're going to meet, and it's going to be a train station. We're going to say, oh my gosh, you said the same thing. And I just thought about that. This is what he does. It's kind of his forte. So it means that he's not going to sit down and I'm even this business decision that's coming up, it's and he's not going to go, okay, Jimmy, grab your pen. Let me pull the numbers out and just show you how to do this. It's an uncomfortable space because it's bigger than I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? But I do feel called, and then I go, well, I don't know, is it God? Well, when I've told a couple of my mentors this, they're like, God is pouring out of this. Even the energy in your voice right now, you're talking about this thing where you're going to go out and pursue the hearts of men like you've never done before, and you're going to go out and literally snatch them, their hearts into the kingdom, like on these, and we found an avenue into men's hearts with Able Shepherd. We truly have.
Absolutely.
You see people open up oh my gosh. I feel like we're just getting started because I've got all these other ideas that I think that have been proven on some of the rides we've done on all this kind of stuff, and I want to use those things to move forward.
And I'll tell you one thing that really, I'm starting to come to grips with it, 3 or 4 years later. What is the saying? God works in mysterious ways, right? So how did BK come to find Able Shepherd? Well, unfortunately, it was a terrible event where a Douglas County's deputy, I say, got shot in my backyard, but within eyesight, less than a mile. And his life ended, and I called my wife, of all things, I was out of town, and I said, honey, I can't stand for this. That was in our backyard. And as a man, I feel it's my duty to protect you, our son, our house, our property. I'm not going to go out in the world and become a policeman and protect society, but inside the fences of my yard, I own that.
Yeah.
And so I called Rachel, signed up for POP, and here I am thinking, maybe the Navy SEAL mentality, storm the castle, slay the dragon.
Save the princess.
Here we go, right? Load up the Glock 19 and make very accurate shots. But then, boy, I'm not kidding you. I took it on Valentine's Day, and by St. Patrick's Day, the notion of shooting guns and being accurate was probably my least care in the world, because all of a sudden I'm surrounded by men who are strong in faith, who are disciplined, who are respectful. And this was, Able Shepherd was relatively young, 2 to 3 years old maybe, smaller community that just grew. And the foundation was set. For those of you who don't know, there's no cursing, no foul language, lots of respect, please and thank you. And there's a community that has been built around that. That's, 250, 300 people now that see that are a part of that feed on that. And oh, by the way, they're learning a skill. That's not why they're here.
Yeah.
You have set a great foundation of being a leader, drawing people to God, having a ministry of sorts, that the side benefit is you're protecting your family with skill and with competence, right? I mean, somebody walks through this back door here, it's going to be a bad night for them. So thank you. I don't know if you ever knew that story, but
you'd mentioned pieces of it, not that way. So I appreciate that. No, that's a good.
It's powerful, and to wrap it all up, God works in mysterious ways. Sure,
absolutely.
I liked guns, but the person I am now, 4 or 5 years later, is exponentially better than the BK at 45 years old, in a great way. So thank you.
Hey, man,
appreciate that.
I love it. You're very welcome. And your friendship has just meant the world to us, and we've shared miles with your family, with our children, and all that stuff. It's an amazing thing. As you know, we have a rule here. Everybody leaves here better, including the staff, every time, So to hear that that's working and that you went home a better person that walked in our front door, that lets me know that we're doing what we set out to do.
And it's almost a universal saying.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet that a 90+% when the person leaves the house and goes to an Able Shepherd event, a training, a mix, hopefully we have those again someday, a special event, when they come home, they're happier, their glass is full, they're more complete, and they're better, without a doubt.
Praise the Lord. Awesome. I wrote these, this is days ago. I wrote these, we just talked about this. God works in everyone. How you respond will define your faith. God arranges appointments every day that you don't know of, meaning that, there's a reason we met. There's a reason we're sitting here right now. All these things, I don't believe in accidents. So pretty good. All right. You ready to start the podcast? Like that thing
should I hit record?
I know, right? Are we good on time? By the way?
We live?
We got to check the cameras and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. So this one is a fun one that we were walking, we were talking about this. It came up in maybe one of the classes, I forget, and somebody talked about, I said something about Graham family sayings. They said that should be a podcast. So it'll be a fun one. Where did this come from? What does this mean? It means that when we go on hikes with my kids, I've got 4 kids, 3 are old enough to hike. So right now I just had a birthday, so Christian is now 7. Happy birthday, Christian. So I've got 12, 10, and 7. And the stuff that comes out's hilarious. Some of it's from movies and it's funny. Some of it is safety stuff. It's just things we say. Some of it's from the military. Some of these are military sayings or whatever. And then somebody were like, can I get a copy of that? People have asked, and I'm like, use these with your family. Use them, like whatever. But it's just fun. So as we're hiking, they'll think of something, and sometimes it'll be something that I've said. And they go, Dad, you know how you say whatever? And I go, okay, that should make the list. So I'll have my phone out as we're walking, and I'll type them up. And we'll just have fun with them. So here we go. I'll explain them. If you know them,
is it like the Letterman top 10 list?
Yeah. I don't even know how many are here. I haven't counted them. It's just a rolling thing. One of the things I do on my phone is I interview my kids. There's a bank of questions, maybe 20, and I do them periodically. But it's funny to look back at my 12-year-old's, like 5 years ago answers. Yeah. What do you want to be when you grow up? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite memory with your sister? All this other stuff. It's a one-on-one time thing, but I cherish the memories. So, I'd highly recommend it. So one of them, we'll just start. And it's so funny because I borrow this from the military. One says, some of them say GFS, Graham Family Sayings. The other ones say C and R. Do you know what C and R would mean?
I do not, no.
The first one's challenge. The
challenge and response?
Yeah, so there's a challenge and reply. It's a military term. I'd say a challenge, you say a reply. Blue clear, the sum of 7, whatever. So the challenge would be me saying, if you can't see me, they would say, then you can't see me. So we're hiking. When they get too far ahead and you can't see them and you're in grizzly bear country, it means if you can't see me, and they say, then you can't see me, and I need to see you because I'm defending the family, whatever. So if you ever with the kids and we're on a hike or anything, just say, remember, if you can't see me, they're going to go, then you can't see me. And they do. They'll get around a corner, they'll look back and they can't see me, they'll back up. They're like,
Yeah.
he can't see me. He's not okay right now, So that's just a thing. Obviously, they want to be chasing down a mountain lion trying to get my kid back. Grand family saying. This one definitely is joking. Kind of. I guess it's true too. But it's from the military. If you die, we split your gear. And then it says ... so don't die. This is like a real thing in the military. They say, hey, man, if you die, we split your gear. And it's kind of funny. And guys, it breaks the ice. Have courage. A challenge would be have courage. And they say be kind. That comes from Cinderella. That's a Disney movie. Well, the anime, the real people ones or whatever. Let's see. Say what's rewarded is repeated. That's an Andy Stanley thing. He says it all the time. I've used it almost daily because we're talking about this, whether it be politics, social experiments with whatever, even raising kids. What's rewarded is repeated. You let them be a brat and then give them a cookie and then you just built one, whatever. Or shopping, throwing a fit. Can't stand that. Throwing a fit in the grocery store or when you want to buy a thing and then you're like, oh, you're embarrassing me. And you give them one. Stand by because you're creating a monster.
Boy, and I hate to interrupt the grand family sayings, but that one's kind of... That hits a little too close because to overgeneralize and say society today.
Yeah.
I think we have a bunch of 3-year-old spoiled brats laying on the floor, kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And I don't see any adults standing up and saying, that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Stand up, get your stuff together, get in line.
Yeah.
We need some people to stand up.
I absolutely believe that. I believe it blows my mind on a higher government level saying, when is an adult going to walk in the room and say,
Enough.
Fun or room? That's what we say in my house.
Yeah.
Fun or room? And they go, it took a while. Now they go, fun. They're crying, acting a fool. Fun or room? Fun. Yep. Whatever. It's like, okay, it works. As long as there's parameters and then there's, you follow through with it. So challenge reply. Challenge, be safe. They would say, be dangerous. I say, have fun. They go, yes, sir, or ma'am, if they're talking to their mom. I like that when a buddy of mine said that, was calling that. He's like, be safe, be dangerous. That says a lot, especially to the boy.
Yep.
When you tell him to be dangerous, you see a thing in his eye that I'm proud of, but terrifies me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
Maybe
like,
it reminds you of a younger Jimmy.
A little bit. And man, I do. I tell him, I purposely tell him, like, you look like me when I was your, like, what the, like, whatever. And he just, there's a song by Brad Paisley, If He's Anything Like Me, and another one by Lee Brice called Boy. There's 2 songs he wants to listen to every day on the way to school, but I drive a bunch of kids to school so they get to pick. So his hand goes up, hey, Dad, can I? Okay, I got you, whatever.
Yep, got you covered. Son.
Awesome. You've heard this one, horseplay leads to sick bay.
Sick bay.
Horseplay leads to sick bay. Here, let's see. 3-part rule. We came up with this, and I borrowed this from somebody else, a little piece of it. 3-part rule. This might take some explaining. Do what's right. Don't change the population unless it's right.
Ooh.
Rebecca says, what does that mean? I said, we'll do what's right. She goes, okay, what's the population thing? How do you change the population? She goes, kill someone? Don't kill anybody. How else? Have a baby? Don't have a baby unless it's right. She goes, when would it be right to change the population? Christian goes, someone's trying to hurt your sister, you'd defend yourself. Okay, that's correct.
Good answer.
She goes, or have a baby. I go, when you're married.
There you go.
Got it. It's like,
Understood.
all right, unless it's right. So drop these kids off every day. And right as I pull up, like I said, there's other kids, it's just not my family. And I said, what are we going to do today? Or I would ask them, what do Grams do? And there's many answers and they can pick. Make the world a better place. Add value to other people. Shine Jesus' light. Get better every day. Stand up for Jesus, yourself, and others. Make Jesus famous. Any of those, they could come out, and they all go around. Some of them say aces, like that means we're going to get A's today.
Yeah.
Some say finish my homework, whatever. But to go around the car and do that every day. So a challenge. If you're keeping score, meaning in life, if you're keeping score, and they say you've already lost.
I like that one.
Or you've lost already. Grand family saying, leave things better than you found them. Question. Let's say the world's going crazy right now. What's the answer? They say Jesus. I said, who should he use? They say me.
Ooh.
Like, yeah. What time is it? It's time for lunch. That's off Bubble Guppies, I think. That's a cartoon. I think Christian probably added that one. We're hiking and he says, I know, we'll add this one. You ask what time it is and I say it's time for lunch. I'm like, roger that. Makes the list. I'll say, what makes you Rebecca, Sarah, Christian, or Eden? So what makes you Rebecca? And she would say this, and she would do something amazing. And I tell him a story. This is where this came from, where I was running a half marathon, long night. Don't need to get into why, but it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done because my body was shutting down. I'm doing this thing, was in no state whatsoever, my own doing, to run a marathon. And I literally looked at the finish line at the other end of the boardwalk and I said, what makes you Jimmy Graham? And I go, this. And I took off as hard as I could, thought I was going to die, but in doing so, found different muscle groups and actually finished like worse than, I mean, wasn't that bad, but it was, I was like, man, this is going to be horrible. So I, explained to that when, I've talked about this in BUD/S SEAL training. There's that 1 to 10 gauge that you think we all have. There's 10 more behind that. You just gotta tap into them, but you can't do it easily. You must bust through that, and purpose will give you those other 10. Question. Do I need to bring this? When we're talking about we're hiking and camping. So I say, do you need to bring that? Or I say, if they ask, do I need to bring that? The answers are, well, every ounce counts, or ounces turn into pounds. Yep. So it's like, the deal. You buy a bigger bag and you go, well, I'll just leave it kind of loose. No, you fill it up every single time, right? So whatever. We're trying to get them to cut down on their stuff. How many straps? This comes from tying stuff down in the truck. They go, how many straps should I put on it? And I say, one more than you think. So it's like, if you think you're good with 2, let's go 3.
That's a good one.
If 2 straps will strap that motorcycle on, put a 3rd one on there, because the suspension, they hit a bump when the hook comes off, whatever. I've just seen that and quite honestly done that too many times. So put what you think will do it. And usually that extra one, if it was the only one, would that hold it just by itself? So one more.
I tend to over-engineer things. So if 1 is good, 2's better.
Right. Oh, which is the next one. This comes from the demo world. When in doubt, overload.
Yep.
It's like blocks of C4. Is that 1 or 2? Better make it 3. It's like, now that's why I'm not a breacher, because a breacher could blow a dude apart. You know what I mean? But if we're talking about destroying stuff, like you said, 1, 2, let's make it 3. When in doubt, overload. This one comes from obviously BUD/S. The only easy day was yesterday. Yep. Hiking world, wool warms, cotton kills. Because cotton clothes, cotton socks, in that survival world, you don't wear cotton. It just soaks up, you freeze, you die, whatever. So we'll say that. Rachel asked him, what socks are you guys going to take? Wool warms, cotton kills. Yeah, darn tough. Wool warms, cotton kills, Mom. Take care of this is one of my favorites. You ask Christian right now, you saw it on the ride. Take care of your gear, and you'll hear, and it'll take care of you. So take care of your gear, and it will take care of you.
And that one absolutely comes from the military, because that was grained into me.
Oh, yeah. Got to do it. Don't worry about what other people say about you unless they're right. And I've explained that to the kids, and it's like, well, what would they say? And this is an example. If somebody says you're a thief or a racist, that's very applicable today, and you're not, 0 impact. You don't even get credit for that. It doesn't even register on the scoreboard. Racist, not happening. Okay, I don't disagree. You're wrong. You're just wrong, right? Shouldn't affect you at all. Somebody calls you a thief and you steal stuff, you got work to do. Yeah. They were right. If you are a thief and they call you a thief, you need to worry about it, and you need to get your act together. So that's what I say. If it's not true, don't even worry about it. So don't worry about what other people say about you unless they're right. Are you in charge of them? No. Who are you in charge of? Me. So what are you going to do? So I say this daily. I said this the other day. We were having a business meeting, and somebody said, well, do you know so-and-so? And they did blah, blah, blah. I go, not in charge of them. I'm in charge of me. They go, roger that. I don't know what they're going to do. I know what Jimmy Graham's going to do. I'm going to do this. So I think it just puts so much clarity into many, many things throughout the day. Yep. Truly, what do you have control of? Not much. I have control of Jimmy Graham, and that's about it. Obviously, I can set parameters and guidelines around this building, both buildings, and the program and all that kind of stuff, but I can't control you. And I've told people, you're a grown man, you do whatever you want, but not here. Yeah. It's like whether you walk in this door, that is my decision. Yep. If you want to act a fool and run your mouth and do all that stuff, do it out on the curb. If you get too loud, I'll call the police, but you don't do that but you don't do it inside. Let's see. Water. It's better in you than on you. So the kids were talking about that, as opposed to carrying it in bottles and all that. Prehydrate. Yep. I want you to drink 2 bottles of water before we leave. Now drink it, get it inside them and all that stuff. Now they can grab a canteen or whatever.
I feel like I just wrote a letter to Alex at boot camp with one of your water sayings. You can live without food. You cannot live without water. Because he's getting ready for a week of, 20K hikes. Yeah, yeah. 5 days a week. It's like, get the water in your boy.
What is it, 3s or 4s? I've heard it both ways, but I was like saying, what is it, 3 weeks without food?
I think it's, 30 days or something. Right? It's crazy,
3 days. Dang it. 3 days without water. 3 minutes without air, 3 seconds without bullets. I added the last one.
There you go. Shocker.
Meaning if there's, that there is that pyramid of shelter, water, food, all that kind of stuff. And then I tell people when we talk about that, a firearm with ammunition is high on that list. Why? Because if you got an emergency that needs a bullet, you don't have 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, that's going to trump those. If you're in a dangerous environment, you got to stay alive to freeze to death. You know what I mean? So
I heard a cute one this weekend. We were talking about foodies. I'm like, I really don't know what a foodie is, but apparently it's somebody that likes trying different types of food. Maybe the ones that takes a picture and put it on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, well, are you a foodie? I mean, I see you trying it. He's like, no, I'm a breathie. I like oxygen. He's like, I can live without food. I can't live without air. I was like, all right, haven't heard that before.
This is a pet peeve of mine. You probably know this. I'll tell the kids, Grams don't lie, cheat, or steal. And they say, or litter. Because they know that drives crazy. We will chase. I had guys on the range like 2 times ago, like grown men running for little bits of paper. I'm like, get it. They're like, it's gone. I'm like, get it. And like, we're running with the wind's kicking it. And we're running down the length of a 200-yard thing trying to get little scraps of paper. I can't stand that or anything. This just assumes somebody else will clean up my stuff. Let's see. Grams don't say can't. You get what you get. And you don't throw a fit. I think that came off of a cartoon, maybe. I'm not sure, but we used it quite a bit when they were younger. Whose fault is it if your kids mess up? They say it's dad's fault, right? Because they were in this room when I was teaching. Because what I was saying, the statement I was making was ultimately, if your kid makes a mistake and you didn't teach them better, it's my fault. Yep. They didn't know any better. They're kids, whatever. We're talking about shooting, all that kind of stuff. They run out in front of you. They're kids. You got to be ready for that. So when they heard me say that to a group of people saying, wait a minute, if I mess up, it's your fault. I'm like, no, it's actually your fault. But ultimately, it is my fault because I knew better. And, I should have taught you that. Let's see, last one. Grand family saying, our job is not to save the world. That's already been done. Our job is to try. So they know that Jesus saved the world. But I was like, we've talked about this in the Bible study. It was like, I'll wait patiently, but not idly. I need to be moving. I need to be doing things because I'm called to do that. But it is our job to try. So this stuff, not sitting by and say somebody else should save me. No, get to it. You should be helping people. You should be taking care of one another. Jesus called us to love one another. So we say, it's not our job to save the world because people, I think, believe that they can do that. It simply can't. It's already been done. But our job is to try.
To try, you bet.
So anyways, pretty fun. Anything to add? Anything to add on those?
I feel like I'm coming up woefully short because I guarantee if you asked Alex what our family saying might be, he'd say, Dad, you always told me not to be the slowest of my friends because if a bear's chasing us or the police is chasing us, they'll catch my buddy who's slower. I'm like, did it work?
Yeah, don't have to outrun a bear, right? Got to outrun you, like that kind of thing. Awesome. So that's just fun stuff. Like I said, encourage you to, if you do have kids and you hike or do something like that, just get them talking. It's fun stuff. Some of it is important. Some of the stuff, as far as teaching them that wool wicks and it's going to actually have warming properties and all that kind of stuff. It just pops right in your head when you come up with a fun saying like that. And we used to use a lot of these in the SEAL teams we used to use to teach a lesson to either new guys or whatever.
One I just remembered that I think is important for all kids and adults alike is always do your best even when you don't think somebody's watching.
Yeah.
Because somebody's always watching.
Yeah.
And for me it was, I think I mentioned I grew up playing baseball. As you get into the higher levels, there's always scouts. And they'll notice the guys that are out taking BP or taking ground balls. They pick up on that. But in general, somebody's always got their eye on you. And I think you have a saying about that when it came to job interviews. The interview started 3 years ago.
Interview started 3 years ago. That's right.
Somebody's always watching. So.
That's a good one. We should throw that in there. But that's it. That came from me being asked to interview a bunch of people. And, hey, would you spend 20 minutes with each of these people? There's probably 20, 30 of them. No.
Don't need to.
Don't need to. Interview started 3 years ago. I know all these people. There's no way half of these are getting the job.
Yep.
Those guys we'll talk to, not those guys.
Yep.
Don't you think you owe? I don't. No, it's not worth my time. Interview started 3 years ago. It's like people are watching. And you say, oh, you're judging, you're doing all that stuff. We all categorize. You can call it judging if you want. We all do it. There are people that have been classified. In my mind, you will never be around my kids.
Yep.
You can't conduct yourself as a grown man, human being, responsible professional. It's my job as a father who I put in front of them as an option. And I won't choose you until you get your act together. Yep. I'm not saying I'll forgive you. I'm not saying I wouldn't be there if you were on fire. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it's my responsibility to guard my children and provide them with options, and you're not one of them. Work on that. Again, if I'm wrong, don't worry about it. But if I'm right, get to work.
Yep.
This
Absolutely.
Again, it applies to me first. That's called accountability. But it also applies to you. So anyways, fun stuff, brother. Thanks for riding along and playing along with those. And like I said, get out there, spend time with them. If they don't know things that you know, it's only one person's fault, I guess.
There you go.
So it's
Share
like, get to it. They're worth it. Invest time into them. And we'll just leave it at that. But love you guys. God bless you guys. Take care of one another.